Amakshay Tandon. A Manipuri woman has alleged that an immigration official at Delhi's international airport hurled racist remarks at her when she was on her way to Seoul for a conference. She alleged that the immigration officer allegedly smirked at her and asked her to name the states Manipur shared its border with. In an apparent bid to know her Indianness, she further alleged that a female official who overheard this conversation was giggling, while the male immigration officer paid no heed when she asserted she was getting delayed for the flight. She further alleged that a female official who overheard this conversation was giggling, while the male immigration officer paid no heed when she asserted she was getting delayed for the flight.
International getting by also from the long matam mahan na mother father and the king or question jaja at the hang and the as mama mapa
Masi Yamna Live of Tivet Todu Habitai. Madam the India Masa Amana India passport by the Pina Mahaksi India Masani Kanga Kanga India Masara hung by Vase Masi Northeast Teleba Koibu discrimination give me again when Mali and the Silver Totok said when Marilinava authority Yanghaningi Lulena Sumba Totok said I son of it Totok said Matung Tabada Atopa Kogi notice about music tone in the
Wonder man, how you are related.
Let's go across to my colleague Payal Mehta joining us over the telephone line. Morning, Payal. This is unbelievable. At the Delhi airport, we're looking at how a Manipuri girl has been singled out by the immigration officer. Are we looking at some investigations and action needs to be taken on this?
Well, most certainly this is a very serious issue when a citizen is questioned and, asked repeatedly by the CRPF official if she was sure that she was an Indian and she was traveling, and that's something which is certainly not acceptable. Well, the issue has certainly been raised with the Home Ministry. The Home Ministry is expected to look into this in grave detail because this is something which is not acceptable. Discrimination of this sort on the basis of one's look, and the CRPF officer over there telling the girl that, are you sure you're an Indian because you don't look like an Indian? This is something which is not acceptable. So it's going to be very important to see what action is taken because obviously the Home Ministry is now being briefed about it.
Yes, Payal, obviously in this situation, the lady in question over here, the victim, obviously must be having an Indian passport, and we believe that she was going for a conference as well. The part that needs to be really looked into is that why was she asked questions about her state, not about the trip and where she was headed at once. Usually ones are asked at the immigration counter.
Well, of course, there are questions that one is asked at the immigration counter, but this is not a question that one is asked because obviously when the immigration officer is looking at the lady in concern, he is looking at her passport, he is looking at her deeds. It is not his prerogative to ask these questions like this and also at the same time make somebody feel offended. The lady over there had the documentation in place. She was traveling and she was at the immigration desk, which clearly meant that she had completed the procedure before and she had a ticket and, of course, a valid documentation in place. So even though this immigration officer may have been inquisitive or may have been suspicious for whatever the reason being, but there was a certain way to do it and there was no need for him to actually single out this lady on the basis of her looks, not on the basis of her nationality.
Payal, this is of course not an isolated case. We have seen cases like in the past as well where women have categorically said that they were harassed by immigration officers.
Well, of course, people have been harassed at the immigration desk on a number of occasions, but also this once again presents the kind of behavior that we see wide across the platform as far as people from a certain region are concerned. People from the northeast are subject to this kind of a humiliation time and again, which is something which has to be looked into seriously. The government has time and again assured that, the safety and security of the northeastern people will be guarded, but, this sort of a thing, asking a lady on the basis of her looks, whether she was an Indian or something else, was certainly not acceptable.
Absolutely. Payal, request you to stay with us. We have some inputs coming in from the family members. We'll take a listen in.
Short to your sister who was traveling to Seoul for an international conference. And do you really think that such type of racial discrimination by a well-respected, how do you take it? How do you rate it?
It is indeed very unfortunate that my sister, who is carrying an Indian passport with her, has been frequently, asked by the immigration officer on her nationality, and that too very sarcastically. So, and which is totally not related to her trip. So, type of treatment is totally unacceptable for us, and the concerned authorities should look after this matter very seriously, so that such incidents does not reoccur in future.
Right, let's go back to my colleague Payal over the phone line. Payal, of course, this outrage by the family members is pretty much justified. At a time we're seeing how on one end it is on several occasions we've seen cases of alienation coming in from the people, and on the other hand we're looking at the Prime Minister, who's also looking at the east of the country. In a way, we've seen how many visits he has made in the past, trying to reach out to the people of the northeast, but clearly that is something that the immigration officer at least hasn't really understood.